Drivers, start your engines!
This is Greg Creamer's Full Throttle, powered by Race for RP.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to what we hope and we certainly expect will be a very special Full Throttle powered by Race for RP. I'm Greg Creamer, your host, and joining me, as always, is a former Sebring winner, Calvin Fish, who also, of course, is the NBC analyst for IMSA's coverage on that network. And our special guest is none other than multiple IMSA champion and a driver with a unique perspective on the Super Sebring weekend that just unfolded, having driven back-to-back in the WEC race, the 1,000 miles of Sebring on Friday, and the historic and legendary 12 hours of Sebring on Saturday. Dane Cameron. Dane, welcome. Great to have you with us here and joining Cal and I.
Thanks so much. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I really appreciate you taking time out to do this. And let's get right to it. Obviously, we're going to start with the 12 hours of Sebring, and we're sort of going to back things and go backwards on this because the whole story, the big news, everything is the crash.
You can see Albuquerque flashing the lights.
Watch
on
this, Albuquerque's
going to get around. Gemini is stalled. Albuquerque to the outside for the lead. But Albuquerque's so wide, almost off the track. He goes to the inside. They hit. He's off the road.
Off goes the 10. And into harm's way.
And he hits the 6. The 7's involved.
My goodness.
Aiken could be in the lead of this race. All 3 leaders are out. Did Aiken make it through?
Can you believe what we just seen?
And there should be a penalty on Gemini, but it will not matter as the cars are destroyed and caution is out.
You've seen lots of replays now. You've had some time to mull it over and think it through. Cal, from your perspective, was there blame to be assigned or was it a racing incident?
Well, I think first and foremost, Chris, we've come to expect these type of finishes both here and at Petit Le Mans. When you got the track at its best, the cars are feeling really strong and they kind of come alive in those nighttime hours. When you put behind the wheel some of the best prototype drivers we've ever seen, I mean, the field is absolutely stacked this year with the talent that we're seeing, and they'll put it all in. And for Albuquerque, he wanted that win. Gemini had done a tremendous job, looked like the Porsche, and Dane can attest to this, seemed to come alive in the late going there. And suddenly it was a big battle amongst all 4 manufacturers, BMW in the mix as well, for the win potentially. So with that kind of intensity, you know when traffic comes up, you got 5 classes running together, it creates that opportunity. Albuquerque, one of those guys, is just going to go for it. Traffic kind of blocked Gemini. He was stalled momentarily. Albuquerque tries to go around the outside, lost the front end of the car, flicks it back to the left. There was a brush. I mean, it wasn't like Gemini running off the road. I think our initial impression when we saw it on the air, Townsend said Gemini's going to be penalized. But then when we saw it in retrospect, it was really just a racing incident. But Dane, I've seen you make similar moves for victories. Obviously, you're on the wrong end of the stick there this time. What would have been your dynamic behind the wheel with the Sebring overall win on the line?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, it just is one of those things that kind of just happen to unfold that way, and you really hit it on the head that it always seems to be Sebring. It always seems to be Road Atlanta, where they're tough races in traffic. You get that late restart. It's all to play for, and eventually you come back around to that big queue of GT cars, and it's a big factor in IMSA racing how you can really get through that traffic. And yeah, it just didn't quite work out. Mathieu got kind of held up a bit in turn 1. It's obviously difficult with the aerodynamics to time that run perfectly to get up the inside there on the left. And obviously the other factor that really plays in the night is you really can't see anything that's behind you. So for Mathieu to be able to judge this distance of where Felipe was would have been really, really difficult. So that kind of plays into another factor of why I think you tend to see this type of thing a bit more in the night. It's a hard one to watch. You can kind of see it escalating through the kind of the give and take of them fighting for the lead in the run up before that, and you kind of knew it was going to get a little bit messy there. But yeah, it's obviously a shame the way it worked out. But yeah, purely I feel a racing incident. I think both guys, you have to seize those opportunities. That would have been, from Felipe's standpoint, the opportunity to win the race. Mathieu had put himself in that position to race, and he needed to kind of cover it off a little bit. And yeah, it's just hard in traffic. Sometimes you get kind of stuck and there's not really anywhere to go, and the guy behind tries to take advantage. It's just sort of one of those things that tends to shake out. But yeah, it's a shame the way it ended, but yeah, it was certainly a big show for everybody.
When you're a pro driver and you're running for a factory team, you're paid to win. You're not paid to finish second. Yeah, there's big picture, there's points and all of that. But if you got that opportunity, you're going to go for it. And from my perspective, just watching it at home, Matthew it looked like he had a lane to the outside, and that closed up. So he shifted off to the left right as Albuquerque went for that move. It's just intense racing, as you said, at night with all the traffic. And yes, running into the night seems to do that, but also we saw during the daytime there were a lot of cautions. And one of the questions that I have for you guys, and Cal, maybe having called the race, in terms of the cautions, there were so many of them. Is there a way to minimize that, or is that just the nature of the beast these days in this type of racing?
Well, I think when you got such a large field, 53 cars started this race across 5 classes, you got that crossover in terms of where the cars develop the speed. It's about 30 miles an hour between the GTD cars and the prototypes down the straightaway, and then obviously different cornering abilities as well. But I think maybe the biggest factor is the backbone of sports car racing is that we have amateur drivers involved in this race, and we embrace that. But certainly it creates an added element to where you're going to have these incidents. And I think, Dane, I've seen a lot of things in racing, and I'm sure you've experienced a lot as well, but to be run over basically under caution on that front straightaway, what were your feelings when that happened? Where did that come from?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you took the words out of my mouth. I've been doing this for a while now, and that's the first. So it's not many days you go to the racetrack and you think that's never happened to me before. So I was on the radio, and I'd been in the car for a few hours at this point, and they were just asking the normal things. Okay, you have anything for Mathieu? I think he was coming in after me. Any updates? I was just kind of rambling on a little bit on some of the settings I had been playing with, what the balance, how it had been changing. It was cooling off at this point. It was kind of pretty relaxed, getting ready to get out of the car, and I was actually mid-sentence when we got run into there, and first you couldn't really believe what happened. Is that really just happened?
Watch what happens here as he's coming up. He's coming up on the left-hand side of your screen there, and he's going to just smash into the back of Dane Cameron.
Goodness. Why is he coming up the side in the first place? Where is not eligible for a wave around.
Well, was I in the wrong place? Was I doing something wrong, or was I talking over when we were supposed to be doing the wave by, or something like that? And then no, we were all on this side of the road, which means nothing was happening. So, I feel a bit silly because I wasn't honestly looking much behind me because I was sort of debriefing on the radio. You're following the cue. Wasn't really under any impression that cycle was happening, which is when you're really looking around and watching for that type of thing. So certainly surprised by it. It was a little bit disappointing because we were kind of on the back foot after Nick had a puncture and the other thing we had the slow lap. So we kind of just got ourselves back into the game. We were P3, everything was good. We kind of had righted the ship there, and then I was like, now back to the back again. Now we got to do it all over again. So that was a bit of a bummer, but ultimately it was great. The boys recovered, did a good stop, and thankfully, no big damage that was really going to dictate what happened for the rest of the day. But yeah, it was certainly a wild one for sure. A lot of cautions, and never seen that one before for sure.
Let's talk a little bit about performance now after Daytona, now after Sebring. The Porsches look like they found some pace, and particularly on fresh tires. A couple of times Mathieu was just a rocket ship on new tires and was absolutely after it, particularly when it got cooler even. You happy with where the car is developing?
Yeah, I think we have some good progress. Daytona was certainly difficult, and it was disappointing to kind of have some reliability things at the end of the day there. So I think we made a good step there across the WEC race and the Sebring race to have pretty good, reliable race cars, no major issues across the week. So that in itself is a really big step. We're still working to try to find the pace. It's the cars are different, they're difficult. You have different tire regulations now, so just trying to find that balance between speed and the tire life. More double stints, more partial tire changes these days. So trying to find that. So I think we're pretty close on in qualifying trim. I think at both of those races. Kind of single lap speed, good tire speed is not so bad. Excuse me. Still probably a little bit of work to do in the difficult conditions in the heat on the long runs, this type of thing. Honestly, I was pretty shocked, really, if I'm honest, about the pace we had in the night. I didn't think we were going to be quite that good. I could kind of see the car was coming to us towards the end of my stint. It was kind of helping our balance as it started to cool off. So I kind of thought we would be a little more in the game, but yeah, honestly, I can't say enough about the job that Mathieu did there at the end of the race. It was outstanding.
Yeah, just aggressive, and I mean some of the moves that he was putting on Calvin. He put on a couple of passing clinics out there with passes for position a couple of times. I mean, it was really, really glorious to watch.
It was fantastic racing. He and Philippe Albuquerque going at it there. So we created some new passing zones with prototypes there through the 13, 14 area of Sebring, which is typically a place you'll make moves in traffic, but suddenly everyone got on that habit and made it stick a few more times. But one thing I was really intrigued by, Dane, was the fact with the first race that we're seeing with the convergence, with these IMSA LMDH cars, we call it GTP class here in North America, of course, and you driving a full season in World Endurance Championship with an LMDH car going up against the hypercar. And it seemed on lap time, at least, everyone was kind of in a similar ballpark. It seemed to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in the race, the World Endurance Championship race, that Toyota was so strong on its second stints. So we talk about balance of performance and getting cars to go around a lap in about the same time, but the raceability with a four-wheel drive vehicle with the hypercar and the LMDH car, it's the first go out of the box, right? So there's a lot to learn. Was it what you expected from the data that you guys have recorded, or were you surprised to see that big delta on the second stint on tires?
I'm not sure if we were surprised. You could see a little bit through the prologue how good the Toyota was going to be. I would say Ferrari as well, quite strong. So you could kind of see the writing on the wall a little bit. I certainly think they made quite a big step with their upgrade kit over the winter. And yeah, maybe a little more difficult place, being that was the very first time for WC to kind of see these cars together, right? So I think IMSA, we had a few more test days on the run up through the roar. I think they just had a little bit more information. So I think, yeah, certainly a little bit surprised to see the gap as large as it was. So we'll see kind of how it goes with the next couple of races and the organizers and everything, how we shift that. There's quite a lot of rules in place to try to, equate four-wheel drive and all these different systems that everybody has, our spec packages versus these open packages. So sometimes, the first go might be difficult, but they've been doing this for a long time as an organization. So I'm sure things will start to equalize as we go and we get closer to Le Mans here, which is obviously the one that really counts. But yeah, it's hard to really know how much of a factor that is, if that's just balance or is it systems. I mean, I'm not really sure to say. I wouldn't say that we're fully satisfied with our own, personal performance in that regard. So I think we can make some strides on our own as well.
But Cal, on a big picture thought for you, looking at IMSA right now, and yes, we've got great categories throughout, but looking at the top category, one, just the resurgence of the GTP name, but Penske Porsche, Chip Ganassi Cadillac, Action Express Cadillac, Wayne Taylor with Andretti, BMW Rahal Letterman Lanigan. This is some powerhouse stuff that's unfolding in IMSA right now, no question.
It really is. It's a special time for sports car racing on the global stage. I mean, we've got the new era with the prototypes. Dane's certainly right in the mix of all of that, both on both sides of the water. And we're embracing the 100th anniversary of Le Mans this year, very special time as well. And to see so many manufacturers now going back there to fight for that overall victory for Roger Penske, Dane's boss, of course, that's been very much on his bucket list. It's amazing to think that the captain still has a bucket list, but he wanted to go back there and compete at Le Mans and go for that overall victory. So they're very much in the mix there this year with potentially 3 cars they're going to run there in the big race. So there's a lot to embrace. There's lots of newness to it all, of course. There's a lot to learn. I think for the teams and the manufacturers trying to get these cars to last through these big endurance races, it's a big test, right? And IMSA, we open up the door with our big race, like our Super Bowl, the 24-hour race. For the manufacturers, I know there's a lot of anxiety going into that first race of the year. And I think all in all, to get 8 of the 9 prototype machines to the checkered flag there was remarkable stuff. And then we go to Sebring, which is a brute. I think running 12 hours there is like running 36 hours at Daytona, and we saw pretty good reliability as well. So I think the future is bright. There's a lot to learn, and there's more manufacturers on the way. BMW will be in the World Endurance Championship next year. We've got Heaney joining the party next year as well. So special times. Very privileged to be part of it and calling the action.
You've been racing for a while. You've fought your way up and through. You've committed. You've been after it. Now you're a factory driver for Porsche in the Penske Porsche team. That's got to be incredibly special.
Yeah, it is. I've been very fortunate to drive for a lot of great teams in the U.S. and a lot of great brands, and yeah, achieved more than I probably ever thought would be possible. To be fair, when I first started my sports car career,
it's a huge honor to be a part of this program. I think when you started to see the brands come to the party, this was kind of the one where, at least from my view, that most people wanted to be in was this one. So I feel like we're all very fortunate to be here, and having been in sports cars in America for a long time, I think to race for Porsche and to be a works driver for them was always, at least from my view, from across the street, was held in pretty high regard of the type of talent that they had and the success that they had. So it was something where I always kind of looked on over in envy and was like, well, maybe one day we'll get to do that, or that would be kind of the place to be if you're going to be a works guy, sort of thing.
To have a chance to bring a Le Mans win to Mr. Penske is a really cool challenge. There's not much that he hasn't achieved, so it would be very special to be able to deliver that for him, with Porsche as well, to go for the big number 20 overall. So, there's going to be no shortage of pressure at Le Mans, I think, when it comes to what everybody wants to achieve, and on such an anniversary year. I like Cindric has a great quote that the pressure is a privilege for sure. So, really looking forward to the challenge. It's been a fun project over the last year, doing all this development and, learning so much about the hybrid tech, which is so new to a lot of us here in U.S. racing. We haven't really seen much of this. So it's been quite a challenge and quite a learn. And as you say, things are getting better all the time. And it's just such a great thing to see the health of sports car racing at the moment, and to really see a rule set that the manufacturers are so excited about, right? I think you really know that you have something special and something that's right when you see everybody jump in. And like you say, everybody is coming to this deal. So, it's great, and hopefully we can enjoy the ride here for a number of years, and really push our sport that we love so much to new heights.
We have now completed the two longest races on the IMSA calendar in terms of distance and laps. Lap distance, excepting Road America. Next one couldn't be a whole lot different. That one's going to be something to tune in for too, isn't it?
Yeah, I love Long Beach. It's a great street track. 100 minutes, one stopper probably. So lots to play for there, and you can be on the back foot there. And just as Dane said, with instant competition, you can suddenly be right back in the mix for a victory. Looking forward to it here in about a month's time.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. Dane, again, so appreciate you taking some time, and congratulations on what I'm sure is going to be a phenomenal season for you. Well earned, my friend. I've been watching you and calling you for a long time, and it's an absolute treat. And Cal, thanks as always. Always deeply appreciate your knowledge. As always, we encourage you to please check out polychondritis.org and raceforrp.org as we continue to try and raise education, awareness, and funding to try and come up with a cause and a cure for the awful autoimmune disorder that is relapsing polychondritis and related autoimmune disorders. When you help with one, you help with all, and we hope that you will help by going to either of those sites, polychondritis.org or raceforrp.org. Learn a little bit more, give what you can, and we try and find a cause and a cure for these debilitating diseases. Thanks once again for joining us here on Full Throttle, powered by Race for RP.